Welcome back to the Save It for Parts channel, where, as usual, I have far too many projects going on. I've got a bunch of stuff going on the bench behind me. I just got this thing I need to work on for the sandbar. I want to finish the RC Tuggy tugboat before the winter. I just got this carport that needs to be assembled. I'm supposed to be putting the carport back there to protect and sort this boat collection. I have the big boat that I haven't touched for like 2 years. And I have this literal pile of vintage computers that I keep meaning to work on. So instead of working on any of that, I've found something completely new to play with. So this thing is a Winegard Trav'ler. It is a vehicle satellite dish. You would see this mounted on top of an RV, a motorhome, a camper, a caravan, as they say in the UK. This is a satellite dish for on the go, when you're out on the road, when you're out in your RV, and you still want to get satellite TV. This is one of those products. Now, I've played with Winegard products before, usually the little portable domes, and those are very similar. They have little motors inside to aim the dish. They can sit on top of a vehicle, or you can have them out on the ground. You can bring them out camping and whatnot. This one is a little bit bigger. It has a bigger reflector. It has more motors. It has not just the azimuth or spin, the elevation or tilt, but it also has a skew motor, so it can actually rotate the reflector part of the dish here to get different satellite orientations. So this is kind of the premium Winegard product, or at least it was a couple years ago. This one is not brand new. It was used. I got it for free, so it's a little bit out of date, as is all of my technology, but I'm still thinking we can do something fun with it. So if we come in for a closer look here, we have a couple parts. We have the actual dish reflector, we have this motorized arm, turning mechanism, and then the cabling harness that would go down into your RV, hook into your satellite TV box. We also have this little box, which is the brain of the unit, or one of the brains. I think there's actually another controller in the base here, but this lets you position it, select which satellite you're looking at, turn the unit on and off, stow it. In this flattened position, it would ride on your RV roof. I believe this is the front, so you're not getting like bugs and stuff smashing into the dish. And then unstow it or deploy it, so when you pull into the campground for the night and you want to watch TV, this whole thing folds up and becomes a traditional looking satellite dish. Now I also have this big gasket thing. This is what you would mount it to. So you would pop this onto the roof of your camper first, bolt it down, put a bunch of waterproofing on it, and then the actual dish unit mounts onto this plate. I flipped it over and they've actually put this nice transparent cover on the bottom here so you can see the guts of it. So as I said, there is a second brain unit in here. This probably has a receiver for figuring out what satellite it's looking at, figuring out the top signal strength, stuff like that. Very similar to what I've seen in other Winegard dishes. We have this big motor over here, and the entire perimeter is a gear mechanism. So this whole thing looks like it rotates. We've got another motor kind of buried in there that I think elevates the thing. So yeah, lots of interesting hardware in here. People often ask where I get this stuff. I just snoop around Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, auctions, estate sales. This was on Facebook about a month ago for $100, and it was a half-hour drive away in a small town. And I thought, it's a little too expensive, it's a little too far away, I'm lazy, so I ignored it. A couple weeks ago, it dropped to $50, and I was already driving out that direction, but I didn't have $50 because nobody has cash in this day and age, so I ignored it again. Then a couple days ago, it dropped to free, and I said, yeah, free is in my budget for a round-trip hour drive. Sure, I'll go get it. This is not a big channel. I make way less than minimum wage from this whole YouTube gimmick, so when I can find hardware and equipment for free, I grab it. Now, the downside of free hardware is that it never has all the pieces. For example, this did not come with a power supply, and from reading the manual, I think it needs a 48-volt DC power supply, which is not super common. And Winegard decided to be different than every other small electronics manufacturer and not put the DC input voltage on their device. So yeah, very unhelpful, Winegard. They did, however, include this nice factory-only interface, which looks a lot like the RS-45 phone jack interfaces that I've been using to hack some of their other equipment. So I think if we can get power to this thing, then we might be able to make it do things it's not supposed to. The prior owners were also very helpful in chopping off the cable connections from the end of the wiring harness here. And Winegard uses some wacky proprietary interfaces here, so we're gonna have to either find these plugs or make these plugs to get it to talk to the little black box. Now, I was hoping I could use a computer power supply because it has connectors that look similar to this. However, they're just a little bit different in size, so yeah, we're gonna have to scrounge this up someplace. Alright, I didn't find exactly what I needed. Apparently the scooter people have snapped up all the 48-volt power supplies, but we've got this adjustable power supply from Axeman, and we've got enough extra bits and pieces here that I think I can make this work. So that's kind of cool. It's really slow though. Maybe we'll speed up this clip. So I'm definitely planning to hack this thing, but first off, maybe we should actually use it as intended and see if we can get TV with it. It's trying to find a TV satellite right now. I've set it up on these milk crates so it has a better view of the southern sky, but it's still searching around. I'm going to try out this Triax Meter that a local viewer gave me. They used to be a satellite TV installer, and they said this is a pretty good tool for checking out free-to-air satellite TV and setting up antennas like this. Now, I don't own an RV, and I'm not planning to use this for television, but if I did, I think I'd have to think twice about it. There's something about Winegards, they are very loud. This thing has been sitting here searching for a satellite for about 15 minutes. It's been grinding, buzzing, whirring, whining, making all kinds of noise. If this was on the roof of your RV, yeah, that would not be a peaceful, relaxing vacation. You would just be listening to this making all kinds of noise on your roof every time you parked and wanted to set up to watch TV. On the plus side, after 15 minutes of noisiness, it seems to have found a satellite. This thing has some fun features like this spectrum analyzer. Alright, I seem to have crashed my little meter here. The lights are all still on, but we've got nothing on the screen, so maybe I'll just power cycle it. I don't know how, but I somehow managed to kill this thing immediately. Since the little TV meter thing doesn't work, I'm just going to give up on that. There's not really anything on TV anyway. Without a subscription, all we would get is the demo channel, and with a subscription, all you ever get is the same 3 episodes of Ghost Bros or season 687 of Oak Island. TV really isn't worth watching today. That's why everyone has Netflix and YouTube. So we're going to try to do something else with this. I've got my little RJ14 or something. It's like a 6-pin phone jack, RS45 serial adapter to RS232. This is all stuff from previous videos from trying to hack other Winegard dishes. We have unknown command, but we do have a prompt from ODU. So it looks like we're talking to the outdoor unit. We're actually not talking to the black box here. This would be the IDU. We are talking to the dish brain. Let's try question mark. There we go. All right, we have HAL version 0.00.000. We have seen HAL before. He runs the other Winegard dishes that we've used. And it looks like we've got a whole bunch of options here. I'm doing all this outside, which is not ideal because it's really hard to see the screen. It doesn't want to focus, and I still don't have a screen recorder on this laptop. Let's look at the OS menu. Yeah, we've got like some task managers and whatnot. We can find out what's running on the little dish brain. And we've got this little sub application to operate motors. I've already forgotten how to exit out of this sub menu. Let's see what ID does. Okay, we've got information about the dish. 2016 it looks like is when this was made, but then the build date is 2018, so this is definitely a little newer than some of my other dishes. This is our little stats menu, and it looks like it's only been powered on 24 times in its life. It's done 9 searches, 8 stows. Yeah, it really has not been used that much. I found about 3 different motor control interfaces in the firmware, so I could definitely manually aim this thing, and that would really help for tracking moving low Earth orbit satellites or trying to lock on to other satellites that aren't just boring old television. Just a matter of which menu do I want to use. Do I want to use the DC motor menu? Do I want to use the motor menu or motorboard control console menu? There's so many options. Try this DVB menu. That'll be the video. Oh wow, there are a ton of DVB options. I'm going to open this up bigger. So leave it to the last thing I checked to have the most options in here. We've got channels, we've got Disc X, so this has the pretty standard aiming system. It looks like you could control this with that Disc X system. If we could get our little installation meter to work, we could run it from that. We've got L&D voltage, we've got lock status, we've got overrides, we've got transponders, we've got all kinds of crazy stuff in here. Well, we can get some interesting live updating diagnostic data from the receiver system. I think this is doing a blind scan and listing out all the transponders on the satellite that it looks at. That's kind of cool. That's something that the little satellite meter is supposed to do. if I were trying to find hidden channels on this satellite, this would be a really useful feature. Well, I'm kind of out of ideas at the moment. I do have some software I wrote to control one of the other Winegard dishes that uses pretty similar firmware, but we might have to tweak that a little bit to control this dish. So we're going to put this aside for now and come back to that. For now, I think I'm going to tell it to stow from the firmware interface. I think I'm going to wrap this video up on the Winegard Trav'ler first look, overall impressions. It definitely works. We can hack it, we can get into the console, we can do some interesting stuff with it. I will not have time to do more than that for probably a while. Like I said, I've got some travel coming up, I've got other projects like Tuggy Tugboat, so I'm going to be occupied for a while, and I've got other satellite dishes I want to mess with as well. One thing I might be able to do with this is take off the little reflector and put on something a little bit bigger, like my folding cloth C-band antenna, and then if we can combine that with motor controls, we might finally have a decent, larger aimable dish, and I won't have to hand track some of my large dish stuff anymore. But again, that's all going to be the future. Those are future ideas for this, things that we will not have time for a while, so you'll have to stay tuned when we do have time for it and when we come out with a part 2 using the Winegard Trav'ler dish. If you'd like to see more videos like this where I mess with old satellite dish hardware, check out the satellite and radio playlist on my channel, and then if you're interested in more stuff like Tuggy Tugboat or some of the other projects I mentioned, I've got all kinds of other content on here. Thanks again to everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.